For decades, one image has been burned into the public mind. Gold towers, private jets, a name stamped in bold letters across skylines. Donald Trump, the billionaire. To millions of people, Trump doesn't just represent wealth, he represents success itself. The proof seems obvious. You don't put your name on skyscrapers unless you're rich. You don't host a TV show about firing executives unless you've made it. You don't sell luxury unless you live it. But here's the uncomfortable question. What if Trump's greatest business wasn't real estate, but selling the idea of wealth? What if the real product wasn't buildings, casinos, or hotels, but the belief that he was one of the richest men in the world? This is the story of how wealth became a performance, how branding replaced balance sheets, and how the illusion of being a billionaire became a business more powerful than being one. Long before most people ever looked at a financial statement, they already knew Trump was rich. Not because they checked the numbers, but because everything about him signaled wealth. The buildings were tall. The interiors were gold. The language was absolute, the best, the biggest, the most successful. Trump understood something most business people never do. People don't study wealth, they feel it. In the 1980 and 90, Trump positioned himself not just as a businessman, but as a symbol. He wasn't selling apartments, he was selling access to a lifestyle people wanted to believe existed at the top. And the name mattered more than the math. Trump Tower wasn't famous because of its cash flow. It was famous because it looked like success. That pattern repeated again and again. Casinos in Atlantic City, luxury hotels, high-profile projects that grabbed headlines even when the underlying economics were shaky. What mattered wasn't stability, it was visibility. Losses could be hidden, debt could be refinanced, failures could be reframed. But the image stayed intact, and over time, something strange happened. Trump's wealth stopped being measured by what he owned and started being measured by what people believed he owned. The brand became louder than the business. And once that happened, the illusion no longer supported the empire. The illusion became the empire. At some point, Trump stopped needing to build things himself. That shift changed everything. Instead of putting his own money into projects, Trump began licensing his name. Developers would build the towers, they would take on the debt, they would carry the risk. Trump supplied one thing, the brand. His name went on hotels, condos, golf courses, steaks, vodka, universities, even a board game. In exchange, he collected upfront fees and ongoing royalties. If the project failed, it wasn't his balance sheet that collapsed. This was the perfect business for someone selling wealth, because the appearance of success stayed intact, even when the underlying business didn't. A Trump-branded building could struggle financially, go bankrupt, or quietly disappear, but the Trump name still stood tall on the front. The public didn't see the loan documents or investor losses. They saw the logo. And that logo did real work. Banks trusted it, developers paid for it, TV producers built entire shows around it. The Apprentice didn't just revive Trump's image, it locked it in. Millions of people watched him play the role of the decisive billionaire every week. Boardrooms, helicopters, power moves, none of it required him to be the richest man in the room. It only required him to look like it. By the time social media arrived, the illusion was already bulletproof. Trump's wealth wasn't a number anymore. It was a story that repeated itself so often it stopped being questioned. And here's the key part. Once wealth becomes a brand, reality becomes optional. Licensing deals paid whether projects succeeded or failed. Media attention rewarded bold claims, not accurate ones. The louder the image, the less anyone checked the details. Trump didn't need to prove he was a billionaire. He just needed enough people to believe it. And that belief turned into leverage with banks, with voters, and eventually with the entire political system. For years, Trump's wealth lived in headlines, books, and TV screens. But numbers don't care about branding. When Trump's businesses started appearing in court records, tax filings, and financial disclosures, a different picture began to form. Not a poor man, not a broke one either. But not the unstoppable billionaire machine people imagined. Court cases pulled back the curtain. During lawsuits in the 1990 and 2000, Trump was forced to open his books. And what showed up again and again was heavy debt. Casinos filed for bankruptcy. Properties were refinanced repeatedly. Assets were often valued very differently depending on who was asking. When talking to banks, values went up. When talking to tax authorities, values went down. That gap mattered. In real estate, leverage is normal. Debt is a tool. But Trump pushed it hard. His empire wasn't built on piles of cash. It was built on loans, refinancing, and constant motion. Money came in, went out, and was replaced with more debt. The illusion stayed alive because the system allowed it. Banks made money on fees. Media made money on attention. Trump made money on deals that paid him first. Then came the tax revelations. Reports showed years where Trump paid little to no federal income tax. Not because he had no income, but because losses, write-offs, and depreciation erased it on paper. Again, this wasn't illegal on its own. Many real estate investors do the same thing. But it shattered the simple idea of Trump as a cash-rich billionaire. His wealth wasn't sitting safely in the bank. It was fragile, tied up, dependent on perception. And perception is powerful, until it's challenged. As investigations deepened, prosecutors and judges weren't impressed by gold letters or TV fame. They wanted documents, appraisals, proof. And once the illusion entered a courtroom, it had to face something it couldn't talk its way out of: reality. By this point, something becomes clear. Trump wasn't just running businesses. He was running a performance. Hotels, towers, jets, gold interiors, these weren't only assets. They were props. Each one reinforced the same message: success, dominance, wealth beyond question. And here's the key part. That image didn't just attract attention. It made money on its own. Trump licensed his name more than he owned things outright. Trump Tower, Trump International Hotel, Trump Golf, in many cases. He didn't build them. He didn't manage them day to day. He rented out the brand. Developers paid for the right to put Trump on the building because that name promised prestige, higher prices, media coverage, buyers who wanted to feel rich just by association. This was low risk, high reward. If the project succeeded, Trump collected fees. If it failed, the damage stayed mostly with someone else. The same logic powered reality TV. The Apprentice didn't show balance sheets or debt schedules. It showed a billionaire making decisions in a boardroom, firing people with confidence. Millions of viewers absorbed the message week after week. This man understands money. The show rebuilt Trump's reputation after years of business trouble. More importantly, it turned perception into leverage. Banks that once hesitated started returning his calls. Sponsors lined up. Deals reopened. The illusion worked because people didn't want to question it. Wealth, especially extreme wealth, often goes unchallenged. If enough signals point in the same direction, we accept the story. But the danger of selling wealth instead of building it is simple. Once people stop believing, everything weakens at once. Which brings us to the final act. The moment Trump entered politics, the illusion faced a new kind of pressure. Journalists dug deeper. Opponents demanded proof that courts demanded facts. And unlike business negotiations or TV interviews, there was no room to spin. Legal cases forced Trump's finances into daylight. Valuations were questioned. Loans were examined. Claims made in public didn't always line up with paperwork. What once looked like confidence started to look like exaggeration. What once felt untouchable started to feel exposed. This doesn't mean Trump was never rich. It means his greatest asset wasn't cash or property. It was a belief. Belief from banks that he was worth backing. Belief from fans that he was the ultimate deal maker. Belief from the public that wealth equals competence. When belief fades, leverage disappears. And that's the real lesson here. Trump didn't just sell buildings. He sold the idea of wealth itself. An idea powerful enough to survive bankruptcies, lawsuits, and losses for a long time. But no illusion lasts forever. Because in the end, numbers matter, documents matter, reality always catches up. And when it does, what's left isn't the image you projected, it's the structure underneath. This story isn't just about Trump. It's about how modern wealth works, how images can be more valuable than assets, how confidence can open doors that money alone can't, and how easy it is to confuse success with performance. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more stories like this about power, money, and the systems behind them, you know what to do, because sometimes the most expensive thing being sold isn't a building.